All right, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. My name is Davonne Reaves, CEO and founder of Vesterr. And this is our annual state of the art or state of crowdfunding annual meeting. Just giving you some information about crowdfunding, Vesterr, and what to expect in the upcoming year. So for those who don't know who I am, my name is Davonne Reaves, CEO and founder of Vesterr. We are a crowdfunding platform for commercial real estate. And I got my start off as a front desk agent at the Hyatt Regency Atlanta over 15 years ago. So I navigated my way into hotel ownership pretty much by being in the right room at the right time, and upgrading my circle a little bit. So once I started getting around other hotel owners by being a part of different hotel organizations, then that's how I got into hotel ownership. I get that question all the time. And the idea of Vesterr came about when I was raising capital for my first deal, and it wasn't really a platform that I could use to help me raise capital. And so this is my first venture into the tech space, and I don't know how to code. So I had to bring somebody on along the journey to help me. So Anand with Marianne assisted with the tech. Okay. All right. So what is crowdfunding? So for those who don't know what crowdfunding is basically if everyone on this call came together and invested in an opportunity through a website. That's crowdfunding. And so real estate crowdfunding emerged from the Jobs Act, which came about from our former president, Barack Obama, in 2012, to make it possible for accredited and non-accredited investors to invest in opportunities that were typically for accredited investors. And so for those who know what accredited investor is someone who has a net worth of $1 million or more, excluding their primary residence, or income level of 200,000 or more. All right. And so that's how crowdfunding. So think about it. So over probably about 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago, or prior to that. So basically, when I started off as a front desk agent, I wouldn't have been able to invest in a hotel unless it was through a stock or a REIT. So, but because of the Jobs Act, it made it possible for folks to invest in major deals. So pretty much prior to 2012, only the rich people or the accredited investors could invest or even had the opportunity to invest in hotels and tech startups. And a lot of times, a lot of people are accredited investors. They just don't know that they are. So, and I'm sure people are like thinking to themselves, wait, I'm an accredited investor. So here's some statistics on crowdfunding. So 2023, this is from Equity Multiple, the global market was valued at about $12.17 billion with the B. So, and it is projected to soar about $300 to $349 billion by 2032, with a compound annual growth rate at about 45.2%. So you see why I created this crowdfunding platform? I was like, hey, let's get a part of this opportunity. And also with this, folks wanted to think of different ways as an alternative way to invest or raise capital. So that's why it's booming, right? Especially with the interest rates and then the uncertainty in the market and just people tapping into retail investors. So a retail investor is someone like yourself, someone who's not an institutional investor. All right, so there are 4 different types of crowdfunding. So you have reward-based. And so basically, if someone was to invest, and they'll get a T-shirt in exchange, or if they contributed to something. Donation-based crowdfunding, think of GoFundMe. Equity-based crowdfunding is when you're investing in security in exchange for equity. And debt is when you're investing in security in exchange for debt. So basically, like a bank, right? If you're raising a debt fund to be a bank to buy a property. And so instead of someone getting ownership in that particular property, their debt or the mortgage or a lender. So what's Vesterr? For those who don't know what Vesterr is. So we are a regulation CF. Remember what I was talking about, the Jobs Act in 2012? That's where Reg CF came from, that. As far as a way to invest and to raise capital. So Regulation CF or Regulation Crowdfund, but we are specifically for commercial real estate. So there are a lot of different crowdfunding platforms out there. You just saw, there are 4 different types of crowdfunding, but we focus on equity. So think of us as an alternative way to invest or raise capital for commercial real estate. So what sets us apart? You can be an accredited or non-accredited investor. And I just went over the definition. But for those who may be forgotten, someone who has an income of $200,000 or more, or a net worth of $1 million or more, excluding their primary residence. So with Vesterr, depending on the income limit, you can actually invest as a non-accredited investor. Funders can raise up to $5 million per deal. And so a funder, which we'll get to in a minute, can raise per calendar year, can raise up to $5 million. We're also a member of FINRA, which stands for Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. And so with FINRA, we're not just a website, and we're regulated by the SEC. So a lot of compliance that we have to go through. And so our job as a crowdfunding portal or crowdfunding platform is to protect the investors, right? Of course, your job is to do your due diligence and your research, but our job is to protect you. So that's why we have to go through compliance. That's why our funders have to go through compliance as well. All right, so just a little background about Vesterr. So we launched in 2022. That's me on our opening day in 7-Eleven. So we launched on 7-Eleven. I'm a huge Beyonce fan, and my dad's birthday is on 7-Eleven. So we launched on 7-Eleven. So that way, instead of a sad day for me because my dad isn't here anymore, it's a happy day because that's when Vesterr launched. We're Regulation CF. We're minority owned. Those are some of the investors. And we only focus on commercial real estate. So who's Vesterr for? So we only focus on commercial real estate professionals, on commercial real estate. So professionals, developers, anyone who would like to invest in commercial real estate or raise capital for commercial real estate. That's what Vesterr's for. Folks who need equity to close on their deals. So if you need equity to close on your deal or the final stage to raise capital, or to get the deal closed, and that's who's Vesterr is for. If you are looking to launch a startup, Vesterr is not for you. If you're looking to raise capital for a startup or a new business, that's not what Vesterr is for. There are a lot of other crowdfunding platforms that you can use. Our counterparts, WeFunder, Start Engine, that you can use to invest or to raise capital. So when would you use crowdfunding? You would use it when you need to diversify your equity pool, meaning you've exhausted your friends and family. You have a community and you want to tap into it, or you want to talk to a wider audience. So you leverage Vesterr as an assistance to your marketing plan to raise more capital. So here's some current deals. Let's see. Can y'all see my screen? Can y'all see the website?
Yes.
Maybe not. Can y'all see the website?
We see current deals. That's what we saw.
So, yeah.
Just went away.
Okay. All right. Can y'all see this now?
Yes.
Okay.
And investment securities.
Yep. So this is Vesterr. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, this is the website. These are our current deals. So AJE Investments, Hotel Investment and Opportunity. That was our first deal that we successfully raised for last year, 2024. I see some of the investors on the line. And we have a deal that's actually being extended. So the Lion Capital Investment Opportunity, that is a fund, and you have until March 31st to invest. And then you have RDL Fund, which is another fund. I think that's until May. And then we have the Gaia Belize Hotel, that is until May 1st, where you can invest. And then We Stay Suites, which is until March, where you can invest in as well. So we don't just do hotels, we do other commercial asset classes as well. Let's see. Uh-oh. So if you wanted to actually invest in the opportunity, this is how it would work. Okay, you would just click on it to learn more. Alrighty, and so you can watch the pitch video if you would like, and you can review the pitch information as well. And you can read the Form C, which disclose the risks. And then if you want to watch the video, the replay of the pitch, you can click for it here. And so just click here to invest. You will create a username and password if you haven't, and then you will complete the questionnaire. And if you had any questions, you can put a question here, and then the funder will respond. So what is a funder? A funder is a Vesterr term on anybody who would want to invest in the, a funder is anyone who wants to raise capital for a particular deal. And an investor is someone who would like to invest. So that is pretty much how that works for our current deals, and that's what we have. Like I said, we've also closed on a car wash earlier, meaning we successfully raised capital for the car wash as well. All right, so let's go back to the.
Davonne, are you doing questions later or can we ask now?
We're gonna do questions later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please hold your questions to the end. Okay. All right. All right. So don't use Vesterr if you want to raise capital for single family, because we don't do that. So don't ask and we won't change. Okay. And then don't use it if you're not going to market your deal. Okay. If you just plan just to put it on there and hoping that it'll work. We do have a community. But as you can see, there are other deals on the platform. It won't just be yours, okay? So if you don't plan to market, the deals that are more successful are the deals where folks are actually raising capital and working. And so what does that mean? Since Vesterr is an extension of your marketing arm when it comes to raising capital for your deal, you know, you can leverage and use social media and press releases, which we'll get to in a minute for one of our case studies. All right. So why Vesterr? Again, our job is to connect funders and investors. So a funder is someone who wants to raise capital. Investor is someone who wants to invest. Right. So our success story, our first one, as I mentioned before, AJA Investments, they raised over $1 million on Vesterr, which helped them raise close to $3 million for a $12 million Holiday Inn conversion to a Wyndham. And so they did a press release. They used a lot of social media. They were able to really leverage Vesterr to build community and really promote their deal. Very proud of that project, to be a part of it. There's a lot of investors. There's some investors on there who invested. The majority of the owners were Black. The investors were Black. The crowdfunding platform Black owned. The hotel broker who founded the deal Black. The part of the BOLD, which is Wyndham's program for Black owners, lodgings, developers, and the management company that handles the day-to-day operations Black. So it's just a great proud to be a part of that success. Now, Vesterr, even though anybody can be on a platform, anybody can raise capital, don't feel as though if you're not Black that you can't be a part of it. You absolutely can. Okay. Genesis Development, that's another success story. They raised about $50,000. They needed funds to close on a car wash development opportunity in Rhode Island. So those are some of the investors who invested through Vesterr. We were in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where the Holiday Inn that converted to a Wyndham. So there are several ways that you can invest. You can use your self-directed IRA to invest. You can use your savings, mutual funds, or stocks, or cash. Make sure you consult a financial advisor or CPA. This is not, financial advice or investment advice. Make sure you conduct your due diligence. So the investor process, as I mentioned before, you would view the pitch deck, conduct any due diligence. And so what that means, reading the offering agreement, reviewing the pitch deck, asking questions to the funder, again, letting your legal or CPA or financial advisor review the information, the offering documents, which is the Form C. Do your research on the funder, doing your research on the deal, seeing where it's located, checking with their history. You can create then after that, you can create an account to invest and complete your investor questionnaire. There are no fees to invest on Vesterr to the investor. There's no fee at all. The funder pays up to 5%. That's how Vesterr, the platform, makes or generates revenue. So if somebody say, hey, I got a deal for you on Vesterr and I'll charge you 1% to invest. No, that's not how that works. There's no fee for Vesterr. How we generate revenues through the funders. So if you have any questions, or if you want to stay connected to us, if you're not already following us, please connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, send us an email, or visit our website and definitely get on our mailing list. I'm going to stop sharing my screen while I leave that up. And if anybody have any questions, it's probably best if you can to put them in the chat. If you can put the questions in the chat, that'll be helpful. All right, so we have some questions in the chat. It says, what's the minimum amount to invest, and is it always a 5% return? I think that's a great question. One, the minimum amount to invest, it varies per deal. So we do not set, as a platform, we do not set the minimum to invest. Is up to the funder. There are 4 deals, as you can see on the site. And all 4 of them have a different minimum amount to invest. Lion Capital, I believe, is $25,000. RDL is $10,000. We Stay Suites is $13,000, and the Gaia or Belize Hotel is $2,500. And the return, I think you got the 5% confused with the fee. So I never mentioned any of the returns because you have to go look into the individual deals to see the returns. So 5% is the fee that Vesterr charges the funder. So the return, you have to look at the individual deal on the return for the deal. How do you get ROI on your investments? So the question, okay, so how would you get return on investments on your investments? So that depends on the deal, right? And so the deal or the funder will explain how the deal would be able to generate a rate of return or return on their investment. How we check from the due diligence process to make sure that the deal is intact, to make sure that the compliance is intact, and to make sure the deal is to see if it can close. Because again, our job is to protect the investor. So we don't necessarily, we check to make sure that the ROI is, if it makes sense to what they're saying, but we don't recommend if it's a good invest or not. Hopefully that answers your question. Says the investors are taking equity positions If so, do you help determine the percentage of the deal? Yes, we do. And typically that is a percentage. So whatever you invest, so I'll use a number to an example. Let's say that capital raises 100,000 and you invest 10,000. That's a 10% equity position. But that's based off on how much you invest. So the investors, they do take out an equity position, but it also depends on the deal because not all deals allow that. So that's a question that you would ask the funder and review in the pitch deck. We have another question. Are there any requirements to get started? No, there are no requirements to get started, meaning from a funder or from an investor. Because an investor, we do recommend that you do your due diligence. We do recommend that you do invest the funds that you can afford because everything is risky. Requirements for a funder to get started, we not recommend that the deal must be under contract or you have site control of the deal. So if you don't have either or, you can't even put your deal on the site. So that's the biggest thing. Another thing is, because the reason why, again, we have to protect the investor, if the deal is not even under contract and you're raising capital for something that you were never going to close anyway, that's misleading to the investors. So we had another question that says, are there dividends given out? That is based on the deal. Again, we're just a platform. So that's a question that you would ask the funder, the individual deals, and ask them if dividends are given out. As a platform, we don't issue dividends. And so we have another question, is the investor a silent investor only, or can they go and look at the operations? Also, there are typically the investors through Vesterr, they are considered limited partners or silent investors. And it's up to the funder. You need to ask them to see if they can go look at operations. That's a question for them because it's their deal. These are some great questions. Thanks for asking. How do you bring a deal to the table again? So the funder will bring the deal to Vesterr, meaning they're under contract for a deal, or they have site control, they need to raise capital, or they currently have something. And so that's how they would bring a deal to us. We wouldn't bring a deal. It says, I saw one investment say a 5-year holding period. So that's 5 years before you receive any return. So that depends on the deal. And that could be 5-year holding period, meaning 5 year of you receiving your principal. And you would have to ask them to see if you would get a dividend in the meantime. How many accredited investors are allowed? It's based on the deal and how many investors they would need. So an accredited, there's no limit on how much an accredited investor can invest, but the funder sets aside how many people they would like to invest in their project. Can we raise money to buy a building that will subsequently be used to house a financial institution? Yes, as long as it's commercial real estate and as long as you have site control of the deal, and we do a background check as well. We do a background check of the funders. So we make sure, you haven't committed any money laundering or fraud. How many accredited investors are in Western as far as you know, percentage-wise? How many accredited investors are in Western? You mean our investor? Oh, how many? I would say probably about 40%. Actually, probably higher than that. I would probably say about 60%. It was higher than that. But it got lower because of Gaia. Yeah, because our minimums are typically higher. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We try. Thank you for the questions. These are great. Now, also, again, when you want to raise money for a deal, you know, you have to be realistic. Again, we're just a marketing arm. So you can't rely solely on Vesterr to raise capital because as you can see, we have other deals. So, you know, folks are looking at it as a marketplace. There have been some people who pretty much invested in everything on the site. And there's some people who like, oh, I'd rather invest in this and not invest in the other one. So that's why I say don't rely, because we're just a portal. We have to promote all of the deals. This is a huge opportunity with that many accredited investors. Yes. And it's growing. It says, I'm new here and based in the UK. Can I take part in investing or present a project to raise money? So that's a good question. With international investors, you have to have an EIN to invest. To raise capital, the property has to be in the United States or has some type of American legalese like LLC. So it's difficult. That's a case by case when it comes to the international deals. It's okay. It's another question. Can you recommend a crowdfunding platform that we can use to raise capital for other than commercial real estate? Yep, WeFunder, Start Engine, Honeycomb. There was a black-owned one. I can't think of it. But yeah, those are some that comes to mind. Republic is another one that you can raise capital for commercial real estate. Okay. Oh, okay, in Belize. Okay, great. Nice. No. I mean, you can go to wefunder.com. These are other websites to invest if you want to raise capital outside of commercial real estate. Start Engine, Kickstarter, and Republic. Yeah. Can I speak on the difference between venture capital versus crowdfunding? So that's a great question. Excellent question. So crowdfunding is when it's a pool of people coming together to invest. So it's a lot of 1,000, 1,000,000 people coming in to invest, right? Think of GoFundMe. I always use it as like a go-to example. And then venture capital is more of a fund coming in. They're private investors. They're more institutionalized. They have a lot of backing. You're just dealing with probably one fund. So a VC could say, I'm going to give you $1 million. And they give you one check. Whereas crowdfunding, it can be like 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people giving you $1. So that's the difference between venture capital and crowdfunding. So that's why a lot of and then venture capital, they typically take a little bit more equity, and they have a right to they have ownership and decision-making process into your business as opposed to crowdfunding. They don't. They're coming in as limited partners or silent investors. Did you have any projects to Vesterr for new construction hotel projects? Yeah, we have the Belize deal. That's for the construction project. We had the Belize deal. That's a new construction, and that's it for new construction. We accept new construction. Again, we do vet it. You know, we do check the feasibility study. We see if the deal, you know, we check the sponsor. So meaning if you are looking to develop a Marriott, or a Hilton and you didn't get approved, and you didn't get approved for Marriott, then you probably won't be going on a deal. All right. So you probably won't be able to get approved. So we do accept development deals, and the biggest thing is you have to have site control. A lot of times people, they will want to come to us to raise capital for the application fee. And it's like, that means you really can't afford to do the deal. And that means it's going to be hard for you to close. And then you're jeopardizing investors' funds. So that's why that's why some folks, they do come to Vesterr, because from a trustworthy, it's not just any deal that's coming onto the site. Again, they have to be under site control. That's probably the biggest thing. I can look at a deal and see if they're going to be able to close or not. So, but again, you still want to do your due diligence. These are some great questions. All right. So do we have any more questions? I will say that we are having our next webinar. We're going to have a Black History Month, because next month is Black History Month. We are having on February 25th will be our next webinar. If you want to hear some of the Black funders that we have on the platform. Lion Capital, yes, is open until March 31st. There's a question, do I still teach folks how to get in position to buy your first hotel, or am I just doing Vesterr? I am just doing Vesterr, but there is an inner circle. So let's see. Let me get the link where we do help you. So it's more so my team help you. It gets you the link. We'll get you. We still help you. So when I say we, me and other folks, because I get that question a lot. Okay. These are great questions. I'm excited. Okay, no problem. All right. Okay. We're gonna get it over to you. All All right, so did we have any more questions? All right, so looks like I answered everyone's questions. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you all joining in for our first webinar of the year. It says, do we assist with international investors? No, with our regulation, we can assist with international investors. So give us some time and we plan to do that. We do plan to work with more international investors. Thank you all so much